Doodlebud here. Today we're having a bit of a Jinhao palooza. These are some of my favorite models from Jinhao. They have other ones I like as well, but we're just going to stick with these today because they are all fairly close, and sometimes you want to know which one is right for you. So I will go through, show you the differences, and hopefully someone out there, if you're thinking about getting one of them and you can't quite decide, this video will help. The models I'm showing is the Jinhao 9019, the 9016, the 9013. X159, and finally, the Jinhao 82. These pens are all readily available on places like Amazon, AliExpress, Temu, wherever you get them. I'll have some links down below from the places I purchased them from. First up, the biggest of the bunch is the so popular Jinhao 9019. For those of you who like a big, thick, chunky pen, this is the ticket you'll be wanting to go for. Comes in a variety of colors. You can have sort of demonstrator-like ones like this where the bodies are a little bit more translucent. You can have opaque bodies as well, so solid colors where you don't get to see the ink level inside. Whatever you like. Features a number 8 size nib. I believe it's extra fine, fine, and medium are their nib options that they have right now. I haven't seen them come out with any new sizes anytime recently. You can also do things like heartbeat nibs, so they'll have ones where it's a bit of a heartbeat cut. I have a different pen that has the heartbeat, so you can check that out on a different model. Thick grip section, and a little more stout body than the X159, but the big thing with this was the first one to come out with their huge converter. So I've done a full review on this one. It's inked right now, so I'm not going to fully take it apart, but I've done a review on this one. You could check the ink capacity on there. It holds a lot of ink. This was the thing that really impressed me the most. Big pen should have a big ink capacity, and they came out with that converter. It's also featured on some of their other pens. It does have an O-ring down here. So I guess in theory, you could eyedropper that. I'm not a big fan of doing that. I don't know how well it behaves. There's a lot of ink in there. Heat transfer going in. I could see it burping. But this pen, like bang for the buck, these are all very reasonably priced. I think this is the most expensive Canadian dollars, 15, maybe max $20, depending where you're buying it from. And everything goes, down below that price. So I think anywhere from maybe $6, $7 Canadian up to 15-ish. I mean, it's pretty reasonable. So you don't really have to worry about $1 or $2 difference between which model, just sort of whichever one you like. I like the clip that's on here. It's fairly stiff. I don't really clip pens on shirt pockets, but it's a fairly stiff clip. So if you really like a flexible clip, that's sort of one of your requirements. This might not be for you because it is quite big. Also, as far as shirt pockets, I don't know if that's really going to be fitting in much of a shirt pocket. It's such a large pen, but maybe it does. For those of you out there who clip this in your shirt pocket, let us know how it works for you. But it's comfortable. It's got a big, thick grip, but obviously for many, this would be way too big in their hand, not too comfortable. So let's go into some smaller models. But I have some viewers who say they're a little bit older now, and maybe they have some nerve damage in their fingers or a little bit of arthritis, and having a big, thick pen like this really makes it easier on their hands when it comes to writing and gripping. Let's stick with the 90 series. So it's the 9019, then we got the 9016. So similar design, just a lot more sleek. So this is a much more manageable size. This would be, say, along the lines of a Mont Blanc 146 size. Oh yeah, this pen does post. You can post it. It posts securely, but for me, it's just way too big when you post it. Not, it's just too much. Although it's secure, whatever you want to do. It posts nicely. It doesn't backweight the pen, but for me, this one feels much better in the hand, especially when it comes to posting. It's not giant and wielding, a little bit lighter as well. I'll do size and weight comparisons here in a moment, but I'm just going to run through the sort of general looks and feels of the pen. Instead of a number 8, it's a number 6 size nib. And again, you can have all sorts of color options. I do like this orange. I think it's a nice looking color. But this particular here, so the 9016, uses the same converter that you have on the 9019. So much larger ink capacity. So that's quite nice if you don't like the largeness of this model, but you like that converter option. The 9016 could be a perfect choice for you. Again, build quality is decent for these prices. Gotta tell you, Jinhao is essentially the king of cheap. A number of years ago, when I first kind of got into the hobby, and even when I first started doing reviews, there wasn't many Jinhaos I was a big fan of. There was a couple models, the X450 and 750. Those were, decent pens. But outside of that, there wasn't much that I really enjoyed or thought the build quality was quite there. Maybe the Jinhao 100, that's a decent pen. But outside of those, they always seem to be cheap. not so great, dried out a lot, just didn't care for them. They have seriously upped their games, and yeah, well-built pens. Like, these are great pens for folks just getting into the hobby, budget conscious. You just don't feel like dropping tons of cash on pens, but still want one that writes well and performs well. Yeah, these are all great choices for that. So I personally probably like the 9016 over the 9019. Let's go a little bit smaller, a little more compact. This is the 9013. This is a cute size. I actually like this one a whole bunch too. Again, a little bit more manageable. I'll do side by sides and all that stuff here in a moment, and including weights, and I'll give you dimensions for sections and barrels and everything there too. This one's super cute. I like this color. It's got some sparkles in there. Again, the color options are decent. Here is the heartbeat nib. So you can get this on the number 8. You can also get this here on this model. It features the number 6 nib. It's okay. I haven't been the biggest fan of the heartbeat. They do look interesting, but it just seems, at least on the 9019, I've had more ink flow issues than I have with their standard nib. So I've sort of stayed away from it. But on this one here, it seems better, the heartbeat nib on the 9013. So a little bit more compact. Same thing though, you could, just like on the 9016, the 9013 also has an O-ring down here. So if you've wanted, and this is plated, so it should be okay as long as you don't have a crazy ink in there. You could eyedropper this as well. But again, you got the converter that's right in here. The converter is a more regular size converter. So the same, it's not exactly the same that you have in the 82. And even, let's just pull it out right now. They have the X159, so very similar to a Mont Blanc 149. These converters look almost identical, but the X159 converter has that ring around it, and it doesn't quite fit in there. It's too loose. So the overall sort of size of the converter is the same, just slightly different fitting when it comes to the very end here, the sort of nipple part of the converter when it fits down into the nib and housing. So yeah, they're not swappable, even though they sort of look like they are. Now on to the Jinhao X159, obviously inspired by the Mont Blanc 149. I've also done a video on that whole comparison, so don't need to repeat myself. This is nice as well. So it competes, I guess, as far as, well, I don't know if it competes, but it's in the same realm of the large pen with the 9019, but it is significantly thicker on the the 9019, the X159, as you can see here, it's not as thick. So if you like the idea of a number 8 nib, this one I ground to the stub, which is quite nice. But if you like the idea of the large nib, but don't like the super thick body, you'll want to do the X159. However, you just have the standard converter size versus on the 9019, you have the big converter. So you got to weigh out what's important to you. But if this is just too big, thick, and chunky for you, which I could get for a lot of people, just too big, you're probably going to want to stick with the X159. Works quite well. Again, lots of color options. I thought this green looked pretty neat. You can post it. It's quite secure. I don't post my Mont Blanc 149, so I don't really post this one either. I find it's more comfortable like this, and quite enjoyable pen. I like using them because you can get them cheap. You can buy individual nibs. You can play around with them. You can grind them. You can do all sorts of fun stuff. And overall, it's a decent performing pen. It's not my favorite of the bunch, but I got to tell you, like, it is what it is. It's made well. It's very affordable, and a good little pen. Well, big pen. The smallest of the bunch that we have here, Jinhao 82. I have plenty of videos on this pen. I think this is just a fantastic little pen. Again, yes, I know they're taking styling cues from the Sailor. This isn't the Pro Gear version because this has the round tops, but this has the flat tops just like it would on a Sailor Pro Gear Slim. But yeah, for the whatever you're paying on this one, $7 Canadian, something like that. Getting a decent little pen. Same thing with the converter. Oh, it's not in this one. One second. I have several others, so no problem. The converter, again, is the same size converter that you would get on the 9013, which is just over here. So the converter is the same size in the 9013 and the X159, but these don't have that little ring. I was playing around and they don't quite seem to swap. So the one from the 9013 and the 82 don't seem to sort of go together. The one from the 9013 seems to fit in the 82, but the one from the 82 doesn't really seem to quite fit in the 9013. I got them mixed up for a second, but this is the converter from the 82, and it goes in but just seems not to fit as well, as this is the converter that came with the one on the 9013. It's in there much more snug, like it's in there proper. You can see I actually have to pull. Here, it's I don't know, just a little bit looser. However, if I take the converter from the 9013, fits in perfectly in the 82. And then, you know, obviously the one from the 82 works well. So I was looking at these and I really don't see too much of a difference. There must be some little difference, like you can see here. It's just more of a straight cut. Here we have a larger chamfer that's on there. So that's probably the ticket. It's just a slight little difference. That little end piece, one has a chamfer and one doesn't, or it's a very small chamfer. And just that slight difference in fitment seems to do the deal where they're not quite, you know, compatible the other way around. Let's go through the numbers. I used my calipers, my little scale. I even made a table. So let me run you through these numbers. Starting off with the Jinhao 9019, 147.2. Just the pen alone is 129.5. When you post it, you have 168. The pen body I'm measuring on every single pen just below the cap here. So the diameter here on the pen body, 16.4. Again, the grip section I'm doing to the middle of the grip on each one, 14 millimeters. The entire pen uninked weighs 32.1 grams. Just the pen is 20.6. The cap is 11.5. For the X159, 148 millimeters long, just the pen itself, 129. And then when you post it, 161. The diameter of the body is 15. The grip is 13. The full pen weighs 28.1. Just the pen, 17.3. Just the cap, 10.8. The 9016 is 142.1 millimeters. Just the pen body is 122.3. When you post it, 155. The diameter is 13.7. Middle of the grip, 12.1. The pen weighs altogether 21 grams. The body's 13.5. The cap is 8.5. The 9013 is 127.8. Just the pen, 115. 145.5 when you post it. 13.3 here, 11.6 here. The whole pen is 19.1. The body, 11.6. The cap, 7.5. And the converter doth rattle. And lastly, the Jinhao 82, 123.5. Just the pen is 110.3, 139.4. When you post it, diameter is 12.3. The grip is 10.3. The full pen weighs 19 grams. The pen itself, 10.6. The cap is 8.4. I suppose what I should do right now, it's a pain in the butt for me, but everyone will like it. I'll put a table on the screen with all the numbers and I'll put on some charming elevator music. We'll do a size comparison for each pen, so let's get through this. We have the 9019 in the middle. This is the Aspine V800. This is the Gravitas Monster. This is actually the prototype version. Then we have a Hongdian A9 and an Aspine V200. Here they are, uncapped, and now again posted. This one doesn't really post. Swapped out for the X159 and also brought in a real Montblanc 149. Other than that, the same pens. There you go, just the pen. Now we're comparing the Jinhao 9016. Up top, Aspine J16, Montblanc 146, Lamy LX, and a Noodler's Ahab. Here they are, caps off. And of course, now they're posted. For the 9013, up top, we have a vintage, which is the best version, Pilot Vanishing Point Aspine V126, Lamy LX, Hongdian C1. The caps are off, except for this one. It doesn't have a cap. And lastly, posted. Finally, the last one, the Jinhao 82. We have the Hongdian A3, Parker 25, Vintage Pilot Elite. Again, that's the better one. And also a Pelican M400. The caps are off. Finally, we are posted. Because someone will ask, what's that pen in the background? That's my vintage Pelican 140. I wasn't sure which pens to put in. This is one of them, but I decided to sub it out for the Hongdian A3. And while we're at it, let's just take a quick moment to appreciate the vintage Pilot Elite. Let's wrap things up now and just talk about my likes and dislikes. I'm not going to do a writing sample with every single one of these pens. I have videos on them. They all write fairly similar, which is quite nice. I don't have any problems with how these pens write. I will do a quick little writing sample because this one here has the heartbeat nib and they do have a nice little bounce to it. I actually haven't inked this one yet to try it out. So let me do that at the end of the video here because I'm curious how this writes. I found that with the larger size heartbeat nibs, I've had it skips. So you get a little extra line variation, but it seems to interrupt the ink flow. So I'm curious with the number 6 if we've resolved that. The only problem I have with any of these pens is with this one, it's quite a rattly converter. And that does kind of annoy me because just moving it around, it's doing that noise all the time. So it's a little bit annoying. None of the other ones really have rattly converters at all. So that's really great with them. Too bad they missed it on that one. They're all extremely affordable. Again, we're talking somewhere around $6 Canadian up to a maximum of 20, but more like $15, something like that. So super, super affordable. I know some will say, IP theft, all that stuff. I don't think Montblanc is worried that people aren't buying this pen because of this pen. I don't think they're really worried about that. But I understand the concern with, taking popular designs from other makers and then coming out with these versions of them. I have a video on that topic about my thoughts and things like that. I find it's a good way to get people into the hobby. The folks that aren't going to be shelling over $300, $400, $500, $1,000+ for the real high-end version of these pens, they're not going to be probably doing it anyways. Maybe one day they do, but again, I don't think those brands are really hurting so much because someone made a version that looks like one of their pens and it's $9 and now nobody buys the proper version. I don't think that really happens that much. I do like the wide array of colors on all of these pens, whether you like straight up clear demonstrators, some of these transparent ones, solid colors, all that stuff, different color trim and things. I think that's fantastic. Nib options isn't huge. I think typically we're running extra fine to medium. That's about it. So it is what it is. But sometimes there's these nib options with the heartbeat nibs that you can get in a different size. All sorts of different sizes when it comes to nibs. From a number 5 size, they have other pens other than this. But I'm just picking on these ones. We go from number 5, number 6, number 8 size nibs. So I think that's great. And then various types of ink capacity. So the reason I pick these is I've had zero problem with these pens. Again, I haven't tried this one here yet, but I'm sure it's going to work just fine as the other ones. They're quite reliable. I will say it's not uncommon for a nib to need a tweak. I ordered 100 Jinhao 82s for some testing I'm doing. I had to hand tune the nibs before I did my laser stuff I'm doing to them. And I would say 90% they had to get adjusted. The most common one was tying gap too tight, but there was misalignments, there was canyoning. So pretty common. I had to give these a little tweak. Again, if you're looking for a perfect nib out of the box, I don't know, but I find on average, they're pretty good. There's lots of videos out there. I've done some, others have done some, where for a lot of things, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, maybe 60 seconds. And that could solve most of the problems you're having with your nib. Out of these models, which is my favorite? They're all pretty good. I like the X159 size-wise. I put a really fun nib on this one, so I'm a little biased on that one. But just size-wise, I do like the 159. I find I prefer it. It's a great pen, but I do find just for most of my stuff, it's a little bit too big. So I think I prefer the 159 just from a size perspective over the 9019. But I think the 9019 is like a better build, and the larger ink converter, all that stuff is good. I really like the 9016. I would actually probably pick this over the 9019. So just a little bit too big and bulky. This is quite nice and comfortable. The Jinhao 82, great little pen. And I'm just going to ink this one up here just to get to know it a little bit. And I'll tell you what I think of it. But so far, I think I'm going to like this too. You know what? I bought this ink. I haven't used it yet. So let's pop that in the pen. This is a gift for someone I'm sending them. And I have some new paper. Picked up this paper along with the ink from the same place. This was at a little shop called Nikaido, which is in Richmond, BC, a little place called Steveston. Super nice. I've done a little bit of writing on this paper so far and I love it. So let's try out this ink with this uninked pen. Before you ink a new pen, you want to get in the habit of checking out the nib. Yeah, that doesn't show up so great on the camera. Much better, so it's pretty aligned, and the gap looks decent, so I'm thinking we're good to go. So I did some more writing there off screen, and I gotta tell you, pretty darn good. Out of the box, again, the tuning was good. It's gonna change from pen to pen, so that does not mean every single one will be perfect out of the box. But overall, if most pens were out like this out of the box, you'd be quite happy. The nib, this one doesn't have quite as much bounce to it as obviously the larger number 8 size nib, but the wetness is good. That's also dependent on the ink. I think this here is a fairly wet ink. The paper is really, really nice too. So I'm enjoying this ink and paper combo. There is some sheen going on if we can see it. Again, it's always paper and lighting dependent. We are getting a nice little red sheen with this green ink. If that's picking up at all, I'm not too sure. There we go. I'm done. I hope this helped a few folks out there. Again, great way to get started in the hobby, or just if you don't have a lot to spend on the hobby, these are great too. That's one thing I like, is there are pens at all sorts of different price points, and you can get great ones that perform wonderfully and really enjoy using a nice pen every single day. There we go. If you want to get more information, I'll have some links down below where I pick up my pens, also maybe links to the video reviews for these too. If you liked it, thumbs up is great. Subscribe even better. There's a join button. You can learn more about that. Catch you next time.